Out here, the West ain't just dust and gun smoke, it's blood, betrayal, and legends carved in iron. These are the forgotten tales of outlaws, lawmen, and drifters chasing gold, vengeance, and redemption. Welcome to Dust and Iron Tales. The desolate, blindingly bright Black Rock Desert stretched in the heat haze glare so vivid that Lion Drake stepped onto its salt crust. At 35, she was a professional cartographer, precise to a fault, and the brass and mahogany transit telescope rested against her shoulder like a trusted compass. Her goal was to chart the largest remaining unmapped expanse of this unforgiving frontier. Through the transit's eyepiece, the air shimmering, she began glimpsing an impossible city, the phantom town of El Dorado Echo. It appeared fully formed streets, wooden saloons, ghostly pioneers yet vanished the moment she shifted to naked sight. Marshall Kane, a ruthless outlaw who styles himself a lawman, was chasing it, obsessed with the rumored gold cache at the center. Kane believes Sylvia's precise mapping threatens his exclusive claim. Kane captured Sylvia and forced her to sight the town through the transit again, demanding she mark the exact location of its square. When she pierced through the eyepiece, the spectral figures waved frantically, not a greeting but a warning. She realizes the town is not treasure but an optical warning conjured by the mineral-rich air, refracting the anguished memories of hundreds who perished in the central quicksand basin. To escape and save others, she must sacrifice her tool by aligning the transit to focus the sun's image onto the ground through the eyepiece, conjuring a brief flare. The flare sears the spectral tan into Kane's eyes for a heartbeat, and he staggers back, his boots slipping onto the brittle crust. The crust gives way. He sinks into the quicksand, screaming, trapped by the very treasure he pursued. She drags herself free, gathers the fragments of her transit, and on the map she inks a bold and navigable quicksand where the town square stood. She turns her back on El Dorado Echo, leaving a final warning painted into the barren canvas for the next traveler. On her notepad, she records coordinates, but the map carries lessons beyond numbers and ethic, of doubt toward glamour and greed. The desert seems to breathe, salt and sun and air vibrating with memory. She pockets the damaged transit, savoring its weight in the knowledge that her art must serve life over legend. The phantom town's warning lingers in the air, a mapless beacon for future travelers who might mistake spectacle for fortune. She turns away, cresting her doom with a final glance at the glare, and sets her compass toward safety, carrying the lesson that some treasures are better left unseen. The wind sighs across the creases of sand as she steps down from the dune. The glare threads through her thoughts like gold wire, but she keeps her eyes on the faint ridge of trees ahead. Each grain of sand clings to the fabric, a reminder of the bargain she made with distance and doubt. The compass needle wobbles, then settles, a small, stubborn friend that points not to relics but to refuge. Footsteps become a metronome, counting the heartbeat of the desert, counting the miles towards something steady. Behind her, the dunes draw a map of illusions, and ahead, a line of green whispers of life. She slows, listening to the whine of wind in straight lines across the hollowed air. In the pocket where she kept the thing she nearly took, the silence sits heavier than the satchel's weight. It was not a chest of gold, but a memory that tasted like salt and regret. She lets it go with a breath that scrapes the back of her throat and settles in the hollow of her ribs. The sun flares one last time off the distant mirror of the glare and sinks into the horizon's edge. Night would come soon, and with it the promise of quiet, a wrap of stars over the sand. She folds the map of possible futures into a small, neat crease and places it where the sun does not reach. The compass in her hand is not a tool of conquest, but a pledge to preserve what remains whole. She steps forward toward the pale green line where life clings to existence like stubborn moss on rock. Somewhere beneath the dune, the desert keeps a memory of what was taken, but she chooses the safer silence. The wind shifts, and with it comes a current of quiet resolve that steadies her breath. The glint of the unseen treasure fades, and in its absence, her steps gain a steadiness they lacked before. The first stars skitter out in the navy above, and she smiles at the idea of a dawn that arrives without a chorus of bells. She breathes out, sets her compass towards safety, and carries the lesson that some treasures are better left unseen. The sea accepts her with a quiet sigh. Her steps fall in rhythm with distant goals. The map in her pocket hums with old secrets. She keeps the compass steady, almost reverent. There are clues she can no longer follow. Not every glimmer deserves a closer look. The harbor lights blink like patient witnesses. She threads a new course with care. The waves teach her to choose the safer line. In her chest her heartbeat makes a vow. If danger blooms, she will step around it. The lesson sits lightly on her tongue. It tastes of salt and quiet courage. Gold dies, then writes itself above her. The compass needle steadies, then nudges toward her. She recalls the sound of old coins clinking, unearned, unneeded. The treasure she keeps is a softer, rare map. It marks not gold, but boundaries of harm avoided. A shoreline appears, hazy and forgiving on the horizon. She steps toward it, knowing the unseen keeps her safe. Air shifts, ash folding around her like velvet. Footsteps echo softly from the hole, though no one else is there. She reaches the threshold and steadies her breath, counting the seconds like beads. A warmth brushes her skin, not heat, but the memory of fireflies in a summer night. The unseen presence, whatever it is, glides closer, not as a threat, but as a seal of permission. She can feel every hair on her arms rising in a welcome she can't name. On the wall, the shadows rearrange themselves into a map only she can read. The map doesn't show roads, only choices she can still make. She steps forward again, slower this time, listening for the whisper of doors turning open. The hole seems longer than it should be, as if it stretches to shelter her from a fear she cannot vocalize. Beneath her boots, the floor ticks like a heartbeat, steady, patient. A scent arrives, not of rain or spice, but of old ink and rain-washed stone. She follows the scent toward a door that should be ordinary, but isn't. It would dark with age in a single iron latch shaped like a question mark. The latch yields without a sound, as if it remembered her family's handwriting at the bottom of a letter. Beyond the door, a room opens like a chest, filled with the quiet of things that remember names. In the center stands a pedestal, and on it rests a mirror that does not reflect her face but the truth she has avoided. The mirror surface shivers, then steadies, inviting her to look where she has learned not to. She meets her own gaze and sees the choices she never spoke aloud lined along her expression like soft avalanches. The unseen falls back, sealing the corridor behind her, leaving only the path illuminated by the glow of the mirror. She takes a breath and steps through, the unseen now a partner rather than a guardian, guiding her toward whatever comes next. The air shifts, cooler on her skin and somehow warmer in her chest. Footsteps echo softly, not threatening, more like a chorus of old friends reminding her she is not alone. The walls breathe with a pale glow, revealing glyphs that pulse in time with her heartbeat. She moves forward, careful but not worrying, as if learning a new rhythm rather than pushing through a barrier. The unseen presence threads itself around her spine, a steady current of quiet encouragement. She notices the dust particles turning silver in the light, almost like motes of starlight waiting to be named. A distant sound, water, wind, pulls her toward a door that wasn't there before, ajar, inviting. Beyond it, a chamber sighs open, revealing shelves of objects that hum with small histories. The partner guardian whispers not with sound, but with sensation, a fingertip against conscience and nudge toward trust. She reaches for the handle and finds it cool, not cold, as if warmed by someone else's breath. The door opens with a whisper of lacquer and folded light that spills into her hands. Inside, the room holds a map drawn in living ink, lines that rearrange themselves when she looks away. The map shows paths not yet taken and warns of none she could not endure, if she chooses with care. She steps over the threshold and feels a seam in the cosmos loosen, like a zipper between two fabrics. The unseen partner guides her along a corridor of choices, each door labeled with a different possible future. Some doors are tempered glass, offering glimpses of what might have been. Others are iron, promising grit and consequence. A wind crosses the room, carrying a scent she cannot name but finds oddly comforting. She pockets a small token of smooth, familiar stone that seems to settle into her hand with a weight that says, "This is yours." She smiles, not fully sure what she is stepping toward, but sure enough to keep moving, to listen for the next cue from the guard. And as she moves, the corridor expands, not to swallow her, but to become an app she can walk, with the unseen no longer guiding but guiding, ever present, ever patient. The corridor breathes around her, expanding not to swallow but to become a map she can walk. The unseen, once a sentinel, now threads along with her, guiding, ever present, ever patient. She steps onto the first engraved line and it tilts into a road of light that knows her name. Doors along the sides swing open not to conceal but to show route she can test and choose. The walls whisper coordinates in a language made of wind and memory. She learns to slow her heart to the tempo of the map, listening for the soft click of a safe passage. Intersections bloom like flowers of possibility, and the map offers her a gentle nudge rather than a shove. The corridors bend in answer to her breath, bending toward rooms she did not know she wanted. She passes a threshold that feels more like a lyric than a wall, and the air inside tastes like rain on stone. The unseen glides beside her as a tutor, correcting her footing with patient precision. Echoes of all voices rise and settle into new phrases, teaching her how to listen to spaces instead of fears. She tracks the map's dotted rails and realizes every line is a memory she is allowed to revisit. A fork appears, possibility in one leg, memory in the other, choice hovering like a subtle heartbeat. She takes a leg toward possibility, and the corridor lengthens to accommodate a larger world. The map loosens its edges and becomes a confidence she can carry in her pocket of breath. A cabinet of doors opens to reveal futures that are not fixed but glimmer with intention. She walks through a rain street arch that shows her reflection as a traveler who remembered being lost and finding a way back. The unseen nods, not as guardian but as guide, and she answers with a measured smile. When the passage finally narrows again into familiar light, she knows she did not arrive so much as redraw the routes inside her. She steps onto the last line, which dissolves into steps she herself can walk any time, a map she has learned to inhabit. The city beyond her stairway sighs, a chorus of doors yawning open. She follows the carved path that hums under her feet. Like a winded compass, it knows her pace. Each step gives a memory she did not realize she misplaced. The map in her mind unspools into familiar streets, then falls back into quiet corners she once forgot. Street light flickers in approval, casting a gold thread along the ground. She learns to read footprints as if they were sentences, punctuation that softens as if spoken. People pass, ordinary and strange, and she recognizes their footsteps more than their faces. The dissolution of the line was only the shedding of fear. She tells herself, nothing lost, everything returned. The map accepts new ink when she thinks of a place she might someday call home. A river that isn't in the city runs along the horizon, its current a rumor she follows with delight. She may step off the map and still remain, because her steps are the map, and the map is a breath she can draw in reverse. The last line leaves behind a calm knot of absence but a found alignment. Somewhere a bell tolls softly for a door she has already walked through in dreams. She pockets the memory of fear like a coin she no longer needs, flipping it to see if it shines. The city expands to welcome her but does not demand her attention. She moves with ease between what is drawn and what is breathed into existence. A child offers her a chrysanthemum and she understands it as a symbol of her arrival without end. When she laughs, the streets reply with a chorus of small echoes that know her name. The map she inhabits grows taller than her, yet never taller than the moment she owns. And when she reaches the next seam, she steps forward again, knowing every threshold is only another beginning. The air on the other side tastes faintly of rain and old wood. She pauses only for a heartbeat, listening to the soft sigh of the seam as it closes behind her. Below, the city hums like a sleeping beast, threads of light weaving through the fog. But here, in this narrow corridor of dawn, the walls breathe with possibility. Her steps are careful, not out of fear but reverence for the doorway she has chosen. A brass handle glints at her hip, a relic she carried from the seam's last turning. When she touches it, time shivers and reorganizes itself into a map she can trust. She follows the new lines that appear at the edge of perception, guiding her forward. Every footfall is a word and a sentence that only she can understand. Behind her, the scene claps with a soft, approving echo, as if to say, well begun. In the middle of the corridor, a door stands where there should be a wall, painted with constellations of smoke. She does not hesitate to push through, because hesitation would invite the old fear to rewrite her story. Beyond the door, stairs spiral upward where gravity seems to forget its stubborn rules. Each step lights a new fraction of the mile she'd been dreaming of walking. A shoal of memories rises and passes like fish in a river, then dissolves when the light changes. She carries the weight of a name she has not spoken aloud, and it grows lighter with each threshold. At the top, the air tastes of copper and citrus, a strange but welcome brightness. From above, a broad canvas opens a landscape stitched from weather and will. She steps into it and realizes the seam was never a wall but a doorway into her own becoming. So she walks, not toward an end, but toward another beginning that waits with patient hands. Even the air seems to lean closer, listening. She moves with the unhurried rhythm of someone who has learned to negotiate time. The street light above hums softly, a patient metronome for her steps. Windows glow with pale yellow interiors, like secret rooms she has only glimpsed in dreams. In the shopfront glass, her reflection wavers, then resumes a steadier portrait of courage. A distant train sighs, and the sound travels through the night as if carrying a question. She finds the circuit of the city and feels it rerouting near her at every corner. The beginning she seeks is not a line to follow, but a hinge that will swing her to another room. A stray leaf skims along the curb and returns to the breath between sidewalks. She pauses, not to rest, but to listen to the quiet agreement between fate and choice. Somewhere a door opens and closes with an almost affectionate snap, inviting her inside. Her hands tremble slightly, not with fear, but with the tremor of potential. She thinks of everyone who ever misread a map of their own life and smiles at the thought. The city seems to exhale, and with it, a promise that beginnings can be messy and bright at once. A street musician picks out a melody that sounds like a turning key. She follows the music even when it leads away from familiar doors toward new ones. In the pause between notes, she hears her own heartbeat line up with the future she imagines. The pavement's loose under her feet, as if agreeing to ease the transition. When a door finally appears, it is neither grand nor ominous, just ordinary and suddenly not ordinary at all. She steps through, and the ordinary air on the other side feels like home, and she knows beginnings are not endings wearing new clothes. The street is lined with familiar bricks and unfamiliar shadows, as if memory and weather had agreed to share a cup of tea. Windows blink with the soft glow of morning, and a cat creeps along a fence like a whispered secret. She pockets the weight of the old days, the ones that kept her up with questions she never asked aloud. The air smells of rain and bread, of laundry flapping on a line and someone humming a tune she half forgot. In her chest, a small door opens, and the name she used to tell the wind slips out. The people pass by and none stop to classify her, which is a relief, as if she has learned to pass through without comment. At the corner cafe, a bell tinkers and the barist to winks as if they recognize a friend who has been away only in dreams. She orders tea that steams like fog curling over a winter lake, and the spoon glides through sugar as if it remembers something sweet. The day unfolds in small rituals: the crossing of a street, the choosing of a book, the settling into a chair that fits like a well-worn glove. She realizes the world hasn't paused for her, nor sprinted ahead, but has kept a slow, generous tempo that invites both courage and mercy. On the wall, a map of surgery-like colors, edges trimmed with the dust of itineraries she once imagined taking. She traces a line with a fingertip, and it responds with a soft sigh, as if the map remembers her fingerprint. The people around her carry stories like coins in their pockets, and she wonders which ones will jingle in her own. The idea that beginnings are endings wearing new clothes dances through her, wearing a stubborn bead of dawn on its forehead. She laughs at herself for needing permission to begin again, and then realizes permission was never granted or denied, only offered in small kindnesses. A child runs past with a kite, and the kite catches a draft and climbs, and she feels gravity loosen its grip for a heartbeat. Somewhere a radio crackles with an old song that knows every street corner by name, and she hums along without thinking. She thinks of the road behind her not as a door slammed shut, but as a door that opens inward, inviting her to a clearer map. The afternoon stretches like lemon juice and sunlight, and she begins to notice what is, not said, the gaps that hold more truth than words. She steps deeper into the ordinary extraordinary, wearing her new clothes with the quiet pride of someone who has learned to carry light where it settles.